Good morning, good afternoon, from whichever part of the world you're joining us. Welcome to the Boardroom and Beyond, the podcast where we explore effective governance that creates stronger organizations, better leaders, and most of all, sustainable success. For those of you who know me and for those who don't, I am your host, Saran Bailey. I am the founder and CEO of a corporate governance firm called BCS Governance Professionals Limited. And in this particular podcast and in each episode, we will unpack practical governance issues that affects all types of businesses, from nonprofits, public institutions, individual entrepreneurs, companies that are listed on the stock exchange, startups. If you're in business for 5 years or even 10 years, every single company can benefit from effective corporate governance. Our tagline is governing effectively from the start. Because like I said, because good governance isn't something that you should think about after you become successful. It is one of the key tools that you need to become successful. So governance is something that is possible, that is something that helps make success possible. So today we're discussing a question that many entrepreneurs, particularly new entrepreneurs, overlook. Why should a startup care about governance when we are just trying to survive? And that is a question I get many, many times. And here with me to try to get into the conversation and pull some good meat out of it is my very good friend, a phenomenal woman, Mrs. Simone Francois-Whittier. And Simone is a member of BCS's board, and she also runs her own companies, Phoenix Legal Consulting Services and Indie Line TT Limited. So welcome, Simone.
Hi, Saran. Good morning, good evening. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yes, it'll be fun. You know, when we get together to talk governance,
Yeah, you have to put a timer. Yeah.
Right? But we have to know we be sticking to what half an hour.
That's what you said. Let's see how honest we're going to be today.
Yes, right. We're going to be honest and we're going to stick to the time, although we could probably go on for hours.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Now, many founders, and you would know this too, even when you were founding your own company, they tell me, and this is something that they believe, they say that governance is something for large corporations. Like, so when I don't have no board, I don't have hundreds of employees, I don't have a management team. They think it's, something that is big and fancy.
Oh, yeah.
Big and fancy. But in reality, the biggest failures begin from the beginning. So I was talking to somebody, I think it was somebody in church last week, and saying your business or your company is like a baby.
Yep.
And when is it that a baby absorbs the most information? What is the most critical period for your very own baby, your child? Right? It's what the first 7 years.
0 to 7, right? Yeah, 7 is the age of reason. Yep.
Once you embed those values and what they're taken from the beginning, you would find that they grow to prosper. So why not treat your businesses and your companies in the exact same way? If we start off right, most likely you're gonna build the habits.
To continue. Yeah.
It's gonna continue. Because some of the large organizations, right, that did not get things right from the beginning, and they're still scrambling to try to get things right. They're large business failures.
Yep, and there's a cost, and that's the thing. You see, people don't understand. My father said, measure twice, cut once, right? If you try to get it right from the start, even if it's a parlor, a roti shop, even if you have your little mom and pop thing, you're making crochet hats, right? Yeah. You're doing I have a friend, her daughter does bracelets. If you decide to incorporate that business, you can register it. And the thing is, it's good practice from young. So I have a lot of friends who have kids who are very entrepreneurially minded and they want to start a business. Great. Register the business for your child, even if it's just as a sole trader, register it. That way they can get a bank account. That way they could start doing business. That way they could learn about the value of money. Even if after 5 years they say, no, mommy, daddy, I don't want to do this again. I want to be a rocket scientist. No problem. But you have an understanding of doing the right thing from the start. And I think, and this is where I think BCS comes in. And that's a shameless plug, but I think people need to understand that you have to do it right the first time. And this is where small businesses need the guidance. I know for me, when I started, the only reason I knew what to do is because I was an attorney. And not all attorneys know either. It's basically a lot, especially back then when we were doing it, when you started business, you've been in business for years in different
Yeah.
incarnations, your family, you realize that there's nobody to tell you what to do. You have
Yeah.
to go in there and find out. And that's the problem. That's the problem.
Exactly. And like the example you were given with the child, right,
Yeah,
who wants to start a business. At least now they know when their parent come and say, let's register, even if it's a sole trader, now they know this is something you have to do.
that's right. Exactly.
Okay, so it's knowledge is power. It's something
That's
that they
right.
know, right?
People have to
So
do. Yeah,
granted, and I will concede, governance comes into play when you're actually incorporating as a company,
that's
right?
right.
Then you have directors,
And
right?
that's a whole other story. And that's intimidating for people.
So and that's the next thing. So
Yeah,
you have decided you're a sole trader, right? So yes, you have to register your business and whatnot. But when you decide to scale,
that's right.
decide I'm going to incorporate this as a company, and I would say, right, some of the larger opportunities would come to you if you are incorporated as a
That's
company.
right. Yeah,
So when you incorporate and during the whole process, they will ask you, who are your directors?
yep. You have to have at least two.
You have to have at least two if you're a profit and at least three if you're non-profit.
That's a
But
whole other story.
what is a board, Simone? A
This is
board
it.
is directors. Is
Yeah,
directors make up the board.
yeah, yeah.
So but I don't have a board. You have two directors.
That's your board.
Your board. Yeah.
Yep.
My I have a family business that I run with my husband.
Mhm.
As You Like It Events Limited. Shameless plug again. So yeah. But both of us, yes, is husband and wife, and many, many micro entities and whatnot. It's really just you and another family.
Family. Yeah.
Um, I do have some more things to say about that, probably in another episode. Right. But even if it's
What
just
to do?
your husband, that's your board.
Yeah.
So when we have a meeting, come husband, right? I we're gonna sit at the dinner table. We don't have a big fancy boardroom.
That's
We sit
right.
at the dinner table and we discuss and we make decisions.
That's right.
And then
Yeah.
you have somebody who, he have BCS and he have the benefit of me. But you have to know you make those decisions around the dinner table,
Yeah.
documented, whether it's a resolution, and
Somewhere.
somewhere you could do a small little minute for that one decision, but you have some sort of documented evidence of your decision because guess what? You and that other person is a board. All
Yeah.
right. So then people ask, you ever heard the question, what is governance? What do you mean by
It
that?
sounds too fancy for so you have to break it down because I think a lot of people are again intimidated because they don't know what it is. So give them a very simple definition that anybody, the average man on the street, average woman, average child, be like, you know what? I heard a lady talk about governance, and this is, in the talk shop in school. This requires good governance. This is because it's a concept I think that we could all use in other parts of our lives as well. So give them a definition.
So governance is a system.
Mhm.
All right. It goes far beyond when people think governance, they might think, okay, well, I have to comply with this law and I have to do this filing, and compliance is a part of it. I have to file my annual returns. I have to let the company's registry know when I change a director or when I change a secretary. And that's very basic. All right. And that's part of it. That's what we call compliance, right? But governance is a system. How is the organization directed? How is the organization managed? How are we held accountable?
That's right.
When you hear governance, there are four pillars, if you want to call it.
Yep.
Transparency, accountability, fairness, and responsibility. And if you get that in your mind, and it's a mindset too,
You can make an acronym RAFT
raft.
to keep you afloat.
Look at that.
That's it right there. We need to put that down in the notes that we're using that raft. Yeah.
Just like that. And what does a raft do? It keeps you afloat.
There you go.
It can help you survive a storm.
This is it. But you need to have all elements, and that's where
And that's where governance. So if you go in and from the time you incorporate your company, you get your certificate of incorporation and you feel that sense of pride. Yes, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it right. You have to have raft in your mindset, right? Who is making the decisions? Who is held responsible for what?
That's
How
right.
do you by risk. How are you protecting your money? So once you have raft, I like that. I'm gonna steal that
Yeah,
Siemens.
take it. Don't worry, it's part of my responsibility on the board.
So what you have raft, you can then have that in your mindset, and you know these are the things that what do I need to protect, right? How do I ensure transparency and accountability,
Yeah.
right? So is complying with the Companies Act, or is just the beginning of things,
Yep.
So like when persons come, it's like, so I don't want to incorporate a company or whatever. We can incorporate your company, but
And it's
that's
very easy to do. Yeah.
it's easy to do. We can incorporate your company, but that's the beginning. Sometimes you incorporate a company and you forget it afterwards.
And a lot of people, and I think I want you to talk about that a bit more, because what I have been talking, I mean, the friends of both of us have in common, right? And I talk to people all the time, and a lot of these very empowered, very professional women, they always have a side hustle. And I hate that term hustle, because
Of
I think you're
course.
doing it at the service, whatever your dream is, whatever, like you said, the business is a baby, whatever that baby is, they don't call a baby a hustle. And I think we need to stop saying that. And I need to think we need to pay more respect and pay more homage and attention to the things that we really want to invest ourselves in, because it's an investment of yourself. And a lot of people tell me, oh, you know, have a business. And I think they strike that off. I think that I'd never do the compliance part is very important. But, I never find any annual returns. And I think they strike that off. So everybody starts up hot and sweaty, as we truly say. You register this thing, you go and incorporate it, and you spend your $500-$600, whatever, you pay somebody to do it. Okay. And now what?
And now what?
You
And
know,
here's what, governance, it will help you be future minded.
yes. Yeah.
When you do that in your system, it will help you be future minded. Because I had a client once, right? We come to the time because also we have companies and we have families and we have children,
Oh, yes. Family business. Oh, God.
and we want to leave. We are of the view that, hey, I'm going to leave what I'm building to my child.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, come to me. So and I'm in the process, they've reached a certain stage in life, and I want to pass this down. But you're struck off.
Yeah.
You're struck off,
And you're doing
right?
business, yeah? That's the frightening part. That is the frightening part.
I don't even want to talk about that.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing so much, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry, because you realize people don't understand that. And I mean, we could talk about the legal side after, in terms of the penalties, the consequences of non-compliance.
That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
Because now you reach a point because you really wanted to do this, and you had to restore the company, right? You have that option, right? You struck off and you have steps you could take to restore the company. But it wasn't cheap. It was not cheap,
No, it's
you
not.
know. So to be future minded. And when this is you start, and like you start off hot and sweaty, like you said, take it seriously, because you never know, this is something that could grow well beyond you.
Yeah, but you have to have the vision, eh? You have to have that plan. So for me, like, if we are talking to small business, because the idea is not just small, the small business ideally should grow into medium size and then eventually a conglomerate. Who knows? It could be up the region, it could be all over the world, because we have had Trinbagonian Caribbean businesses that have gotten bigger than the islands that they were founded in. I mean, we have our own company here that's all over the world. I won't call the name, right? Where the drinks are all over the world and they use it all over the world. Then we have companies in Jamaica and other islands where, the brands have gone way beyond the islands, the shores of that particular country, or the jurisdiction itself. But you have to have that vision in mind. And I think people need to start taking business seriously, because the compliance side is what will tie you up. Because I remember when they first started to talk about cross.
Yeah.
I think you need to have a segment on cross all by itself.
For sure, by itself.
And there's a lot of businesses, even NGOs, which is another topic too. But the cross, when they were launching the cross, they called us into a meeting, the MAGLA, the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, and they wanted to talk to us, some of the practitioners, about what their intentions were, etc. And I remember coming out of that meeting, calling up some of my friends who are attorneys, some of them practicing, some of them not practicing. And I said, guys, this thing is meant to tie up everybody. I said, it'll tie up like crab. I said, this thing is meant to, because the system is eventually meant to be interlinked. And that's a part that people are missing. So all the taxation stories, all the compliance stories, the AML, CTF requirements, all of those things are meant eventually to be part of a system-wide net. that
And
people are going to be caught in.
and that is where we want to be, right?
Yeah.
Ideally,
So that
right?
you would not have a problem when they cast the net.
When they can't see it. And I
Yeah.
see the intention behind it, right? Trinidad and Tobago, we are not as interlinked as we should be yet. Let's be
Yeah, the departments do not speak to each other. There is no communication for the most part. Now it's probably a little better than when I worked in the public sector for over 20 years.
correct. Very
Yeah.
much operating in silos now. But I'm seeing through the core system, they're trying to connect the Ministry of Legal Affairs, they're trying to connect BIR, they're trying to connect FIU and whatnot. But the process to get that done, and people are not sensitized to it enough. All right,
Yeah.
like I said, we could do a whole different segment on cross.
Yeah.
All right. So to get into the nitty-gritty, of course. But the point I'm trying to make is you're never too small to start. Get the raft in your system, in your mindset. And
Yeah.
don't think that you have to have a large board with a whole bunch of people. You can start where you're at.
Yeah.
Start with your 2 or 3 directors. All
Yeah.
right. And if we start thinking about governance early, you get the habits, you become trained
Yeah.
on
It's
as you go.
the way you want to finish, and I think the other parts around, and you could expand on this, you pick the right people. So yes, you have your spouse. So sometimes the poor spouse don't have a choice. The spouse is given my word volunteered. The spouse is volunteered that they're on the board, sign here. The spouse may or may not be aware what's going on, but they're a good spouse, they sign, their partner, whatever, they sign. Your mother, your father. But I think what we also have to be mindful of is, and this is what I liked about when you set up your board, that you have people from, yes, they were friends and the people that you think, you have your best interests at heart. But when you set up a board, you should have people who actually know something.
Correct.
Who can help you. You have to take emotion out of it in business. Sometimes you have to make decisions that are very clinical, very surgical in terms of, I need to have the right person. So sometimes, like I have a relative, I told them, I said, if I were to get involved in the business, the first person I would fire is you. And of course, well, you know me, and you all will get to know me, my personality, and I had to say that because from a business perspective, no matter how much I love you as a relative, as a friend, I would, the person like you really do not have the competence or the interest in doing this. You like the idea of being in business.
Yeah.
You're creative, and don't get me started on the creatives. You and I are type A. No, I could be a creative. I have that part of myself that's creative. But I set up a company to be creative because that's how clinical I am. So in the type A, do things like that. But the creatives,
Yeah. So
get somebody who is not a creative on your board.
I mean, I'm married to a creative. I love him.
Yeah, and we will not go down there. But that's why he has you.
That's why he has me.
And
Right?
everybody needs to have a you in their lives who will be like, okay, this is the right way to do this. So once you go off there and make the product, make the service that is going to bring in, that is, you are the business, right? Mm-hmm. You need to have somebody on the back end who is holding it all together, who's really rowing the raft towards compliance, towards good governance, to make sure that you don't get sunk. Because a lot of people, and I know so many stories of people going bankrupt. Yeah. Because they did not have that person to row the raft, to guide where we're going with this. And that's, I think, where you could come in with, because I don't know. That's why some people buy you. I don't even bother anymore.
You need somebody to row the raft. And I remember when I did my MBA in Lockjack, and there was a theme that kept repeating in different classes. What 10% of first businesses fail, or it could have been more than 10%. Okay. But that kept coming up. How much of first businesses fail, and they were trying to encourage people. Yeah, your first business is gonna fail, all right? But keep going and keep going and keep going.
That's depressing.
And I remember thinking, but why is that? Why I can't start a business today and have it last? Why are these businesses failing?
Yeah.
And I started to kind of look into that because it's something I kept hearing. Why must my business fail? Right?
At that point, why are people failing?
Why are people failing? And one of the major reasons is you don't have somebody to row the raft, right? It's exactly what you're saying. So you need to get, if you don't have somebody already, right, you need to hire the persons who can help you. Trusted people too. You have a discerner. You have discerning out there, right? So who it is you can engage to get into your business and to help you row the raft, because we know you have to be discerning, and it has to be somebody that you can trust,
And
right?
even if it's one person.
Yeah, right. BCS governors, we pride ourselves on being a trusted partner. So if it is that I know what it is I have to do, and why I think I did my MBA, because my husband was entrepreneurial, I was properly fine in my corporate job, fine. I had no plans of, well, I would stay in my corporate office where I like and I enjoy very
And
much.
safe and salaried.
And salaried, yes, and I work to it. So
Yeah.
I would stay right here. But he needs somebody between the two of us needs to know what they're doing. So
In terms of, that whole management side, yeah.
Our whole management, and that was the reason I did my MBA for him. Right, somebody needs to know what they're doing in business. So, and that's a major part of why people fail. They need to have people who know what they're doing, who can be trusted. All right. So part of this podcast, right, and it's free for anybody who would watch, is to equip you with some tools so that you can get some idea as to what you're doing. And there's no reason why you can incorporate yesterday, have your incorporation date be the 20th of July, and not have your first board meeting next week.
Yeah, and actually, I would have thought that you'd have had a pre-meeting. So people would have known that they would have been on your board a little into. You know what I always wondered? And you could speak to this. I always wondered if it's prudent to have a kind of, like, when you have a business idea, like start to kind of interview people for the position and board, like, let me hear. And I think people need to be empowered to know that they could decide. And this is a lesson that I was listening to. I like Wayne Dyer. Since I was like 16 or 17, I love Wayne Dyer. And for those of you that don't know, go Google him, Wayne Dyer, Dyer.
Yeah.
He's passed away now, but he's an international like author and speaker, etc. And one of the things he was saying in this thing I was listening to is that you have a choice. And I think a lot of times people, especially people who are small business people who may not have done an MBA. I mean, I didn't do an MBA, I don't like maths. So
Accounting.
and I'm not doing accounting. And so for people like me who are averse to numbers, etc., I think a lot of times people get intimidated by the idea. Like we said, we have to make governance palatable and relatable. And he was saying that you have a choice. So people need to know that they have a choice. You could choose who you want on your board. You have the right to say, Jim, I love you, Tom, Raj, I love you, but I think I need to find somebody who has the competence or who could do this with me, because people often, again, conflate like love, relationships, friendship, family with business. And I need people to start making a bit of a separation. You can have all of that, but from your experience, and lawyers all know, family business or any business where there's emotion and that kind of that merger of the two, it gets very messy very fast.
Very complicated.
Very complicated, and it is a detriment to the business. So people need to know you have a right to say, no, should I interview? So someone says, Saran, should I interview somebody to sit on my board? Would you tell them to interview people?
Why not? I'll give you a story about how I went about it, right? So BCS governance, I am new in business, let me confess.
Yeah.
Right?
How many years? Not a year yet.
We incorporated the 29th of August, 2025, right? So this August is a year.
Wow.
Right? So in 2020, I started as a consultant, brand new to business. I was terrified. It's like that. Like I said, I had no plans, right? This business thing was for crazy people like my husband. So,
poor Mr. Billy.
But the Lord did what he had to do, and he's redirected and interferes sometimes. So he redirected me. So it's really I would say I got introduced to business in 2020 during COVID, right? I started my sole trader consultancy during COVID like a crazy owl. But nonetheless, because of what I learned and I know through my experience and what have you, I know these are the things I have to do, right? So when I was, okay, I'm going to incorporate, I'm going to scale. In 2025, I realized when I have to scale, right? Because the clientele was getting much, thank you, Jesus, right? So I said, I'm going to scale. And I looked for persons of different expertise, because one of the qualities of a good board is a balanced and diverse board.
Right.
So even when you're starting, you want a balanced and diverse board. I wanted males, I wanted females, I wanted a balance of gender, I wanted a balance of skills, I wanted a balance of ethnicity as far as I could
Age.
age.
Yep.
You know, my chairman in her 80, our chairman in her 80.
I just
Sorry.
want to be on record. I did not say anybody's age, Chair. It was not me disclosing people's age on the web.
She's a very accomplished woman, and
No,
she's
she
still very
is.
strong.
I didn't say her
Very,
age.
very strong.
I just want it on record. I did not say her age. Okay. Yeah.
There's a, it's diverse in age. So because I knew this is the type of board I want, I went to ask people. I sat down, hey, let's have coffee, let's hang out. And I asked you.
Yeah.
You know, you went around asking for people to say, yeah, I'll be on board. And this is even before I incorporated. You know, you don't want to add somebody to your board and they're none the wiser.
But yeah, I mean, that happens a lot too. People are voluntold and they say, sign here, and they're like, oh, on the board.
But
Yeah.
one of the good things about Cross, though, is that the director actually has to log in and approve themselves to the role. So no longer you could just find a winner. When I joined,
Yep.
So that is what I did. I had conversations. You know, it was no formal Zoom call or formal interview, but you have coffee conversations and you meet and you chat and you see who's interested. You know, and we build the board.
But how many, like, let me ask you before you move on, what skills you think are the most, or you should prioritize then? What are the most, I won't say anything is more important than the other, but which skills you think you need to prioritize to get on your board when you're just starting?
Well, it would depend on your sector as well. Huh?
Right, okay.
I think these particular skills applies regardless of your sector, right? You want somebody with governance experience. You want somebody who has legal experience, right? You were that person for me, and you should try and get an accountant.
Yeah.
Have an accountant.
You want to do maths. Yeah.
Yeah. So marketing is important for a new business.
In today's world, yes, for real.
Right. So those I think would apply regardless of what sector you're in. And then will depend on your sector, you can get a few specialists in those fields. Right. Most of the time I found that the persons with governance experience, they also have business management experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So and this is just from what I've been noticing. Right, the governance as well as business management. They have experience on boards. They have experience running organizations. Some have experience running startups. You have your own You have your own startup.
I'm not even go there because it was a case of sign here, do this, but because, and I think that's where the cross-fertilization of professionals. So what I would say is to professionals, and I have a problem with that term too, because to me, everybody's a professional in whatever field they're working in. But the traditional sectors where people assume are professionals, which is like law and related businesses, financial sector, medicine, banking, those kinds of things. People, like you said, you in corporate, right? Even if you're working in a ministry. I worked in the public sector for the majority of my career, even though I started off in the private sector. And especially I have found it, Saran, and you could tell me about this. Oh my God, like for me, when you are salaried, it is extremely difficult to move from a salary to no salary. I know how much money I'm getting, and I think you should speak to people in terms of that fear factor. Because I remember being in another friend's thing a while ago, years ago, and I just started. That was during COVID too. And I was telling them that for me, especially being a public officer and a permanently appointed public officer, that the whole idea of a salary was a difficult one to let go. Not too difficult, because I mean, how much money are you making in the public sector in this country? But more seriously, in terms of the idea of not being accustomed to money passing through your hands. So when you sell a commodity, it is different, or even a service, it is different to getting a salary in the bank. Because to me, there's a psychological shift that took place with me, especially with the drinks, like within the line, when I would make a sale and people would hand me cash.
Yeah.
Because I had never handled money, like physical cash, before in my life. In terms of, you did this, I'm paying you for this. Because the return is so immediate. Your brain kind of like, I know I had a kind of, what is this moment? Because you could not very easily make a correlation between what you were doing, your actual value add, this thing you created that somebody has wants so much that they're willing to give you money for it. Whereas when you are working and salaried, you come to do your work, you're doing your work of day life, you go, you type, you do whatever it is you do in that place that you get a salary. And there's no direct mental link between my value add, my input, what is my skill set that I am being paid, because it's doing so many things that is so diffused that you kind of make a direct link between this is what I am doing and this is why I'm being paid. And this is the value that is ascribed to my input.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's frightening for them because they can't even make the correlation. And then they freeze up. So they end up registering businesses and then not doing anything because they literally don't know what to do. So what would you say to somebody like that? Like, how did you make that switch?
Girl, I attribute that, and you would hear me make reference to my faith and God often, because I attribute that to God Almighty. Okay? I worked in corporate for many years. I always loved what I did, and I am not the risk taker, right? I am not an innate risk taker. I will confess that. And if I have to do what I have to do, I'm going to do to the best of my ability. So now I have risk to take, I will take it. But my innate natural, quality is not to take risks. So I was very comfortable in my corporate job, and I had my salary budgeted, right?
Yes.
I remember I couldn't account for $23 on my salary and eventually found a phone card for $20 phone card that I bought, but $20 phone card and $3. So I budget very, very, very stiffly and I was comfortable like that for years.
Wow.
There came a point where I just had to leave for my mental health. Right? But the leap, I understand that fear. I completely understand that fear, but I had to put my faith over it. I really had to put my faith over it. And if there comes a time, right, we're not saying to leave your corporate job over silliness, right?
Define silliness.
No, right? But the boss get me vexed today, so I quit. That's not what I'm talking
Take
about.
a day off. Cool
Right?
off.
Cool off a little bit and come to your senses. If that's not where you are, do not do that. Because sometimes you might find that the funds from your corporate position can fund your startup.
That's right. Yes.
But I left. There came a point where I knew that leaving was absolutely necessary. All right. So I made that leap. My husband was running a business at the time, right? So we had that kind of cushion, but it was difficult. So that fear factor is real. I'm not going to underestimate it by no means. It is very, very real. But you have to examine your circumstances, right? Whatever faith you are, whatever you are guided by, and you have to know this is something I have to do now. A lot of persons during COVID, and how you think I started the consultancy? Persons during COVID, a lot of persons in my network were being fired, right?
Oh.
Because when the lockdown happened, businesses were closing, and a couple of my friends say they came, devastated. I just got fired. And some of them inquired, so what we are doing, because our business continued, right? We had to pivot a little bit, but it continued, and we were making things work. So I started telling them exactly what to do, right? You have a talent, you have a God-given talent, and invest in yourself. Maybe now it's time to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And it was my husband who said, you're giving away pearls for free. Right?
You see, the creative husband was useful, huh?
Giving away pearls for free. I was like, what do you mean, So, and that is really what led to Swan Bailey's consulting services, those persons in my inner network, and one thing led to the other. And during 2020 to 2021, we incorporated over 100 companies,
Wow.
A lot, two people were pushed to, they were on the point of desperation, a lot of them.
Okay.
On the point of desperation.
And that's sometimes a good thing.
Yeah, so there was this push. I'm going to start my own company. Granted, now, 10, how much of a years later, some of them struck off. They found a job and they went back to security. So but once you make that decision to go into business, do it to the best of your ability and get the knowledge that you need. right? From day one, take corporate governance seriously. It is not just for large companies. You don't have to have a big board. You don't have to have hundreds of employees. You can have one employee. If somebody, you could be a only employee, but
Yeah.
take it seriously and get the information that you need. And you will start to excel. You will see, and maybe on your first go, you might very well succeed.
Yeah, I find that numbers are bit, I mean, I know there's statistics, and sometimes I often wonder too, if those statistics are from the region or if those are just international statistics that people use and superimpose on the Caribbean. Like, has anybody, to your knowledge, and this is the academic in me, I'm a bookworm, have there been studies on business, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, over the last especially that last 5 to 10 year gap with COVID, and that so many people started businesses during COVID out of necessity. Have there been any studies? Have there been like researchers doing that kind of in-depth analysis to say, well, you know what, in Trinidad and Tobago, the statistics are not 10, maybe 5, maybe it's 15.
Maybe, and don't quote me on any percentage, yeah?
I know, but still, I just wanted to know, like who's doing the research here? Because I think too, and this is where people like you and other persons with the experience would come in. I feel as if we need more local value add. And I think that's the space that the podcast is trying to fill as well. Because when I Googled, yesterday I was Googling governance podcast, right? I was sending you some of the links. I did not find any. Did I send you any from the Caribbean?
There were some names. What do you mean?
The podcast, yeah. Did you see any? Did I find any from the Caribbean?
No, actually.
I didn't see any from the Caribbean. I mean, there was the Governance Institute in Britain, right?
UK.
UK, right? And then there was the one, I think there was one in India. There's another one, but I really haven't seen anything. And I mean, correct me if I'm happy if somebody could share it with us, because we always love to partner, because I think this is a conversation, and I know we are both part of another institute in the Caribbean, but that's not what this is for in terms of the feedback and the reach that you are trying to have. But I always wonder, in the Caribbean, like there's a need, I think, for that kind of research, especially in Trinidad and Tobago and other countries that are very manufacturing centered and that kind of heavy industry kind of, like what is going on here with our businesses, and is there support? Because I wanted to ask you this too today. Like when you're telling people, okay, set up a business, get a board, get the right people on the board. In terms of support, are there mechanisms, as far as you know, still for people who want to start businesses? I know you had done some research on that, like in terms of the state sector. Banking is a whole other thing. I think you need to get somebody from the banks to talk about how small businesses can get funded and what the requirements are in terms of governance for them to qualify for funding. But we're not giving them any free ads right now, but just to ask if you know of any opportunities for small businesses. Let's say they come, they register, it's run, register, help us get incorporated, they do that. The people always ask me, like, is there anybody that gives funding? Is there anything, any mechanism, that's set up for that kind of thing?
So, I mean, I see a lot of organizations giving funding for nonprofits, right? You could get a grant, a nonprofit grant, and you will have to know how to set up your proposal, how to present your proposal.
Okay, that's
and
thing.
And again, you can't lie, even if you're a nonprofit, you can't lie in your proposal. You have to actually be doing the things that you're saying.
Yeah.
So even if your governance structure is also very, very important to
who's on the board.
Who's on the board and whatnot, to add meat and value to your proposal for funding. With regards to profit companies, I mean, you can get investors either you can get invested from equity or debt, right?
Explain that.
Equity, you can go to investors.
Okay, right.
I've had individual conversations with certain persons who would you be interested in investing in my company, right? I developed a pitch deck, right? A pitch deck is basically a quick synopsis of why an investor should invest in your company, right? And investors looking for structure, investors looking for governance.
That's right.
Board, right? What is your plan? What are your projections for 5-10 years down the road?
Something against her on maths. Ugh.
You have to have a vision. Without a vision, my people perish. You have to have a vision for where you want to reach. All right. You can't just say, well, yeah, I'm just here to make money and then just going by the way. If you don't set your targets, right, and you don't track your performance against target, Like we just had a quarterly meeting. You have to track performance against target. Do I need to adjust my target given what has actually been happening? So this is all part of building structure, and it's rooted in corporate governance.
Yeah.
So these are so you can go to investors, private investors, or you can go to the bank. The bank also wants to see these things. The bank wants to see these things. So for me, and I give a little bit of my business, I want to invest in my company, me, myself. All right. So, persons would be more willing to invest if you have meat in the pot.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. You shouldn't go and ask people to invest when you not. Right? So you should put some meat in the game. So I have gone to the bank. I don't have no sort of money sitting down. Right? Which also next thing I want to make, you don't have to be rich. You don't have to be rich to start a company. People who know me know I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination. My family not rich. I did not come from money. Right? So you go to the bank, I need to take a loan for my investment. And in certain things the bank want to see, the bank will be asking you questions. How much questions I answer over the past 6 months, right? And you have to, you had to be able to answer.
Yeah.
Gotta be able to answer. They ask me, so what accounts for this the change in equity and all the things. I could answer those questions.
Yeah.
So get the training that you need to excel. You can go to the bank and get a loan, but your finances have to be in order. You see, when you talk about you sell a drink and the person you go and meet the person for the drink or whatnot, and you can get a cash in your hand.
Talk about that.
Put the cash in the bank account.
But even if you don't have Saran, I know this is your pet peeve, so I don't want to start you on this yet because I know where you're going with this. But just to tell the listeners that even if, let's say, they have no, there's no law that says you have to have a bank account, right? But you should register your business, right? If you're doing business, you should register. And I want to encourage people, before I go into what Saran is going to, I need to stick up in here for the legality. Know the rules and the laws that govern your sector, because trust and believe they are laws that govern your sector. From the Ministry of Health compliance issues for people who are making consumables, to customs and excise, to the health inspectors and to tongue and country for the people and them who have to inspect it. But all of those things are regulatory things that they are also compliance issues. The OSHA Act, all of those things are things that may affect you, especially when hairdressers and stuff, there are laws, the health inspectors, there are things that govern their regulations, best practices you should become aware of. And that too, the banks and the different people take into consideration. And I know I was talking to a girlfriend of ours around the other day, we talked about ESG. That's another thing altogether, right? What is your impact on the society? Is there an environmental impact? Because depending on what you're doing, you may have to go and deal with the EMA. But apart from that, and I just wanted to stick that pin there because all of those things come into governance. That's why you have to know who's on your board. But also with regard to the money part, and let's say you're selling this thing, you get the money, even if you don't have an account, because I know some people don't like banks, put it somewhere that it is apart from the big pool of money. So the banks talk about no commingling.
No commingling of funds.
Put it in an envelope. Put it in a pan. My grandfather had a pan. Right? I could talk his business now. He's passed away. He's going to be the Lord, so I could talk about his business. Put it in a pan, put it aside. Even if you're selling tulum from a gallery or something, or you're selling tulum down by the school, or pies. A lot of people are, hagglers and hucksters, they go in and they're selling. Put the money aside and do not just start to spend from it. Because when you do decide you want to go to the bank to get a loan, the bank is going to ask you for your income. And even if it's just a profit, like for people like me, income, expenditure, what I get, what I spend it on. You have no way of telling the bank or telling anybody who wants to give you money, well, I made $200 last month. And that also helps you track how your business is going to see if it is profitable, if it's making sense. Do you have to switch? Do you have to sell, probably diversify? Instead of selling tulum, you sell some sugar cake. You start selling doubles. Do I need to change the time of day I'm selling? Do I need to go down by the school earlier because there's another vendor that has come out before me? To the point where even with companies, do I need to move location? Do I need to find a different market? Who is my customer? Yeah. But I know the whole thing about the money thing, Saran, is frightening for people because the need, you see, because, and I don't want to make excuses because I know where you're going with this. I'm not making excuses for the individual or individuals who will what you said, any resemblance of a person living out there is purely coincidental. But because they're doing it because they need the money. So when the money comes in, there's a need. So they'll take it one time and they spend it. They're not even recording it. Right?
Going straight to Massey.
This is what I'm saying. So, okay,
Straight.
so how does someone then, and I think I know the answer you're going to give. You're going to say, well, this is why you have to practice the right thing. You have to, it's a habit you have to get into, right, Saran? Okay, go ahead. I'll let you go ahead now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. No name.
I'll give you a working example of one of the questions the bank asked me, right? So your income, by and large, should go into your company's bank account, right? Even as a sole trader, I had a separate account for my business sole trader, right? For my separate sole trader business, right? So it goes into your bank account. I presented an income statement to the bank, right? Now, in your income statement, you have cash in the bank and you have something called cash at hand, right? And together, it would total your revenue.
Okay.
So I go into my bankers, the company's bankers, they say, but your total revenue is different from what we see in passing through the account. Account for the difference, right? So, but when you're doing like you have a financial year, right? So what the explanation for that was, and it was the truth, this financial statement is to this period. So whatever cash you would have had on hand, not saying we would not have deposited, it would not have been deposited. But at that point in time on this day, at the end of the financial period, it was deposited. So it was cash on hand. Right?
Physically in your hands.
Physically to be deposited.
Right? Okay.
And sometimes you don't want to go in the bank every single day.
Nobody has to do that, and that's not safe. So
yeah, you have some way where you keep there. You might have cash on hand. That cash on hand, even though it's home, is not to go in and take and go to the grocery, right? We know that this is cash on hand to be deposited, right? And that was one of the questions. So you're seeing that, but by and large, you see most of the funds that the bank seeing the activity in the bank account. When we see in the activity, we know that this is our active business.
Going concern, yeah.
Going concern, right? So even though you now try to, because there will come a point in time when you want a loan.
Or even if you want an investor, because I don't know anybody who I have a relative who told me this weekend. She said people who have money, they have money because they don't give money. They have money. That's why they have money, because they're not giving it away. And anybody who has that kind of largesse will want to know that the investment is a sound one. Even if they're giving you the money in the form of a grant, they would say, let me see how you're going to spend it, right? Let me see how you're going to do it. So I think that's another important point for us to remember as business people, even in terms of governance. Like, that's why I said it's important to have an accountant or somebody who knows at least some bookkeeping, some basic bookkeeping. On your, and also, like you said, get these skills. I will tell people, like when I started, I did my own website because I mean, full disclosure, I'm a bit cheap on certain things. There are things that I like, but there's certain things I'm very cheap about. And also because I'm very particular. Like for graphics, for instance, during COVID, was a lot of opportunity. So I did some small courses. There were courses online on YouTube for free that I did on website construction. I did not pay anybody to do my website because I got a quote and the person told me it was $15,000. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't afford that. That might be good for some people. I can't afford that. So I just went on YouTube and I figured it out for free. I went and I got my own website. I even got I was telling you about the e-commerce website I set up on my own with no help from anybody. And it was fully functional to the point where I was able to downsize it and revert back to revert, let me use proper English, revert to the former version of it without the e-commerce, because I realized Trinidadians at the time were calling me and not using the e-commerce website anyway. So what was the point of that?
So many e-commerce is an unnecessary expense.
Yes, really, exactly. And that's another thing too. Small business people, they do not, on any business person who's just starting out, you don't need everything all at once.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody may tell you, oh, you have to have this and you should have that, and you want it to be a certain way. You have to start. And that's why we're here today. You have to start. The opposite of perfect is done. You have to start somewhere. So like I said, you don't have the bank account, get an envelope, get a pan. You don't know how to do it, go on YouTube, go on even Facebook. Go on Udemy and some of these other, even Coursera, all these different platforms have free training. And if you do have some change to allocate, to invest in yourself, and I do support Sarah when she says invest in yourself, I did a course on graphics. So Sarah will tell you I do all my graphics myself because I figure there's no way for me, and this is just my own instinct. I know the vision I have in my head. So even if I have to pay somebody to design it or I have printers that I work with, I can design it to the point where it is usable for them. So when they get it, they only have to do whatever little tweaking and finessing they need to do. But the vision is very clear, and I speak the same language they speak now because I got the training. So I know this is what they mean when they talk about the different formats, when they want this to be brought to the fore, when if it's pixelated too much, if I need to look at the resolution, if I need to fix something, I can fix it and then send it back. So it makes it very quicker. I mean much quicker. Like it's very, very fast. It turn around. So I remember one lady telling me when I did my thing, she said, such a pleasure to work with you. She said, because most business people don't know what they want, and it's always a set of back and forth, and they want you so much quicker because we just we get everything done because you already know what you want. This is it. But again, to your point, Saran, you have to invest in yourself. And it's not about perfection. I think people also have to be willing to be vulnerable, to know that you don't know. Because I don't know this. Like I don't do accounts. I don't know. And I think that's what people need to be able to admit that they don't know and they need help. And to know who to ask to, because you can't ask everybody. You can't have everybody in your business.
You gotta be discerning.
You have to be very discerning. So that's just my 2 cents.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Let's close up by saying invest in yourself, right? We are having a training at the end of the month on the 31st of July, right? Corporate governance is more than just regulatory compliance. And we're going to get more into what are the steps that you can take, right? Reasonably priced is only $500 because persons who are now looking to start business and trying to keep afloat, we can't afford all these huge prices, but invest in yourself and get the know-how, right? Take the training, all right? And let's start governing effectively from the start.
Yeah, so you don't have to call people like me.
You don't have to call the lawyers, Prevention is better than
always better than cure. Always. It's been a pleasure, Saran.
Governance professionals will help you prevent, but when you reach the point of cure, you have to call Simone.
I don't like stress. But seriously, Sharon, this was really cool this morning, as usual. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
On the inaugural installation of the podcast. I wish you all the best. I know you're going to go from strength to strength, and the business is going to be blessed, and you're going to be a blessing to other people.
Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you guys next week. Next time.
Next week. All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.